You and Chris are going to be in here talking about God knows what.
All right. My brother.
I put both my earphones on. I'm ready.
You got them both in.
Both on. I don't have anything in. No.
Okay.
No.
I checked, and no.
No.
Dude, how are you?
I'm good. You?
Yeah, you know what? I am upright and taking nourishment. So there's that. I'm 6 feet on this side of the ground.
That's freaking profound, dude.
It is. I am upright and taking nourishment.
Yeah.
So you can write that down. Kids, you can write that down and use that if you want to.
Yeah, you can.
Folks, this is the Retro Show, and the Retro Show is
an homage
to growing up in the 70s and 80s like Chris and I did. I am Butch Renfro, and I am joined at the podcast table like I have every week for the past year, by the way.
Has it been a year?
It's been a year because it just came up in my timeline. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Chris Curtis.
What's up, y'all? What's up? Hey, man, dude, I didn't even see her sitting over there. She's back. Hey, baby, how's it going? Yep.
Ma'am, you need to stop that.
You look fetching
There are
in
children.
lavender.
There are virtual children out there, and you need to stop. I swear. I can't take people anywhere.
I don't know what to do.
Anyway, folks, it is the Retro Show, and let me go ahead and just tell you guys where you can go to get information about this show. It's at retroshow.net. And why do you touch the camera? Don't touch the camera. You know, I don't have many rules, but one of them is you don't touch the camera.
Shut up, Butch. It's my camera. What's up, y'all?
Technically, our producers bought this.
But, I mean, it's on me, my camera.
Okay.
Am I good?
You're all right now. Actually, yeah, you did a good job.
I'm a pro.
You are a pro.
I've been doing this for a year.
For a year. Well, 6 months we've been doing the video, but for this, yeah. So we've done about half of it. We started off audio only, which I'm going to be honest with you, was easier. Okay.
I mean, yeah.
It was a lot easier. For me, you didn't really make a difference.
I really hadn't noticed the difference, y'all.
Yeah.
Be honest with you.
But, you know, I decided that we needed to do video because, you know, we're handsome men.
Think about that.
It's
really and truly think about that. We're not.
But whatever. I thought it would be entertaining to have this on camera. So
I enjoy it.
You know, because I'm trying to get into the YouTubes, which, by the way, if you go to our YouTube channel, which you can get to at retroshow.net, if you like and subscribe to this channel, that would be really cool if you did that.
That means you, Moose.
Moose.
You know what's funny about that is I get to sit here and call him that every week, and I don't get his response, which his response was always classic.
Yeah.
I mean, we call each other the same names, and I'm talking about a friend of ours, Robert Sam, grew up together, and I called him Moose. He called me something else.
He called you something else.
No, I mean, it was the same name every time, but I'm just not going to give it away because I'm going to let that
Moose do that, right?
I get to do that. Moose.
Gosh, I don't know where I was at. Oh, yeah, I was talking about the YouTube channel. So, yeah, if you could like and subscribe there, that'd be awesome.
That would be great.
And
that would help us out a lot.
It would help us out a lot, you know.
We could get our, put an album out and make it go tinfoil or aluminum.
Aluminum.
No, it's not going to happen.
I've got an aluminum album that I put out a year ago. But anywho, folks, yeah, we have been doing this a year now.
But you gave me a thing that says a note from Dr. Blank.
What?
Yeah.
A note from Dr. Blank? From Dr. Love.
Dr. Love.
Down, 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 down.
It's some kind of like medical
scratch
pad.
This is from the AVMA, the American Veterinary Medical Association.
Okay, I got you.
So this was a scratch pad that Dad had, and I had a few of them. So I've kept them over the years, and so yeah.
At the top it says, here, I'll show you guys. I can't show you my list, but I'll show you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you see it over there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Dr. Love.
There you go.
It's my funny for the day.
It's your funny. It's mildly amusing, I have to say. It's pretty good.
Are you patronizing me?
Every day. All the time. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I'm just messing with you, dude. You know that.
I don't want any trouble. Oh, come on. Just a little.
Come on, just a little. we just... If you're still here, why? Because, we're just...
Listen, guys, I'll be honest with you. We've been around each other since elementary school.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how our conversations go. They're all just sporadic movie lines and all kinds of stuff. It's
basically we speak to each other in movie quotes. And if you can follow along, that's great. If you can't, then...
You need to watch more movies.
You need to watch more 70s and 80s classics.
Cannon was talking, my son's home from college, and he said, Dad, we ain't been to a movie in a long time. I'm like, there's nothing to go see.
Yeah, there's really nothing to
there's no
really
movies.
Nothing at the theater that I'm really interested in going to see right now.
Not to pay the kind of money they want. That's a $50 bill every time you go. It's crazy.
It is if you take everybody. And
we don't. That's just me and Cannon.
Yeah,
it's just like crazy. We both get drinks and 2 movie tickets, $50.
Oh, that's nuts, man.
That's what I say. That's what I say.
That's what I said. So, folks, the retro show topic today is we're going full metal. People, we're going full metal. Chris and I will be giving our Mount Rushmore of metal, and stick around towards the end because I have a rather humorous story to tell.
Am I involved in this story?
No, you're here for response.
Okay.
No, you are not actually involved.
God.
No. This is something I did.
This is one of those. Listen, when somebody says I have a funny story to tell, and you're sitting there at the table, you're like, "Oh Jesus!" No.
No, it's not involving you. It's something I did too.
Okay.
Excellent. That I did on Facebook, and I got a response. That's as much as I'm going to say, but I do have a full story to
I've done that.
Tell you about. Yeah, it was pretty funny who I got a response from. So stick around for that. It's funny. I ticked off somebody, which imagine that. Can't imagine that at all. So anyway, we're going to go away for a little bit, and we're going to thank our sponsors for sponsoring this podcast.
Our what? We don't have sponsors.
Oh, that's
we have
right.
Producers.
We have producers. I want to thank our producers and thank Chris for
that's
keeping
why
me
you
lined
see
up.
why I'm here, guys.
Do you know why he's here? Because I say stupid stuff, and he goes, "Hey, man, you just said something stupid." Now, he might not actually say those words, but that's what he means.
All I got to do is look at him.
He looks at me like, you said something stupid, didn't you? And I go,
"Oh,
yeah." So,
hey, let me get Debbie in here, Jack. Oh, man, we have a great time.
Yeah. Folks, we're going to be right back. We're going to thank our producers.
Yep.
And we're going to be back talking about metal music. Well, Chris, we got a brand new producer.
I love it.
I do. I
love it.
It's Kate S.
Kate S.
Yes. She now joins the... Kate S.
I like
S.
it. Kate S.
And she... it's Kate S. And she is now a proud producer of the... Well, I don't know how proud she is, but she is nice enough to give us
proud, man.
Yeah.
She's probably got a Team Chris shirt.
You would know. You would think. Also on the list, of course,
LNC Corporation.
You don't cross LNC Corporation.
Never cross.
You don't even think about it.
That's right.
Roger McDougal.
Melinda Hignite.
Yeah. Hey, Melinda. Thank you.
Yep.
Dusty Breeze.
Old Dusty
Breeze.
Kevin Goff.
Thank you, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin, appreciate it, brother.
Norton. And then we got Chris B.
Nancy Schwartz.
Big Josh Ramsey.
Joshua Ramsey off the trail.
Comes in riding in off the trail and wants rye whiskey right now.
He wants a little bit of that coffee we make.
I know, some of that coffee. Fran Adams.
Fran. EM.
EM. Thank you very much. And Bradford the Behemoth Mason. And
the one number one in our hearts.
And the very first producer, Tanya Holland.
Tanya Holland, and you're number one, Tanya.
Thank you so much to all of our fantastic supporters. You can also support the podcast by heading to retroshow.net to find out more. Thank you very much. That
means you, Moose.
Moose. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Retro Show. And once again, our topic today is we're going to be talking about our Mount Rushmore of metal and kind of heavy metal music in general, kind of how it came into being during our time as young people, how we really got into a lot of hard rock and metal bands. And Chris and I are going to be discussing those when a little bit.
Really and truly, when we hit the music scene as young people,
yeah,
I mean, hard rock dominated.
Yeah, it did
at that time. I mean, it did. It was hitting mainstream. All the radio stations were playing it.
Yeah.
So we kind of grew up with it.
Yeah, we did. And there's a lot of what I like to say in the difference between hard rock and metal is sometimes very thin.
It is very thin
because you may have a band that puts out a scorching song that would be considered heavy metal, but overall they're not a metal band in their entirety. You know what I mean?
Yes, and there's probably some of those on my list.
Yeah, and where I probably went pure metal on mine.
You probably did, and you know me, I'm more hard rock than I am metal.
Yeah.
But I think my number one metal band is probably the number one metal band. That's just me.
Yeah, so, right. So, yeah, that's that's kind of my take on it. And so my first, what I would call a metal band that I got into that was actually a heavy metal band was probably Iron Maiden.
Okay.
A band that was consistently metal throughout their entire career is what I'm talking about. And I remember one time I had a 76 Ford Granada. You remember that car?
No.
You don't? Okay. Yeah, you do, because we listened to Rush in it. But I had a 76.
I cannot believe you actually went, really?
Butch, you said something stupid again, didn't you? I'm going to have to smack you now. Yeah, but I remember we were listening, and our local radio station was Magic 105, KMJX.
Yep.
And I remember one night, because, they always played the harder stuff at night.
Go ahead.
That I heard this song called Run to the Hills. Mm-hmm. And I was going, oh my gosh, that is amazing.
Really
Who's
good.
that band?
Really good.
And so I had kind of been getting into heavy metal a little bit, just here and there. But that one's kind of got me down the path of where I went to, kind of for a long time. I was big time into my metal life. Chris, what are you doing? Are you starting a podcast?
Feeling captivated by your story. Now we're podcasting. And as I say, kids, drink local.
Or regional.
No, that's local.
That's
Point Remove.
Oh, yeah, just right down the road about 20 miles.
Motown, baby.
Motown. Yeah, Motown, baby. It just follow your nose. Actually, that's Apollo, to be fair. I'm talking about a paper mill. But,
so, the first one on my list is probably more.
Well, I'm not talking the list yet. I'm just talking metal overall. We're not doing this part yet.
Oh, I'm with you 100% on Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah, they were one of the first real metal bands I saw live. And here's a funny story on that. And I think we actually talked about this when we had Monty, your brother, here on a podcast. But Iron Maiden opened for 38 Special. And actually, they were third on the bill when I saw them. They were the opener for Point Blank and then 38 Special in 1982. And they had Run to the Hills.
The same year we saw them with Molly Hatchet?
Who's that?
38 Special.
38 Special.
Wasn't that 82?
That was 81. That was 81. Yeah. Great show, by the way.
That was great.
That was great. That was a good show overall. Except, here's the thing is they didn't have Danny Joe Brown singing at the time.
Man, You know me.
I
listen to music. I don't.
Yeah, but
it either sucked or it didn't suck.
Yeah,
I don't keep up with the people that are in the band.
And it did not suck.
That's
a great show.
Interesting side note. My son gets so mad at me when he's talking about sports teams, and I don't know who's on the team.
Yeah, it's like that's not my.
He's like,
thing.
what do you watch? And I'm like, I'll watch to see if they execute, especially in football. I mean, I was a lineman. I mean, I'm big. I've always played line.
Yeah.
I'm always watching the offensive and the defensive line.
Yeah.
Did they execute?
Yes.
Same thing with
with music. Did they execute the cross block? Did they do? Yeah.
For years, my favorite band is Pink Floyd. For years, I couldn't have told you who was in that band.
Yeah.
Literally,
you just
love the music. I mean, that's
Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
By the way, after the show, remind me to tell you something cool about Pink Floyd.
I'm in.
And then, which by the way, we're going to see Brit Floyd, which is a Pink Floyd tribute band. That's wait. Like in what's the day? It's like next
10 days.
week. Yeah, it's like 10 days from now.
Is that on a weekend?
That's on Thursday. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
I think it's a Thursday. I think it's really so 23rd. Yeah.
It's
so
really
I think we're heading.
You know what? I've got a calendar right here. Go ahead.
Anyway,
keep
just keep talking there, podcast boy.
Hey, well, I know we're doing a podcast and everything, but we're talking about going to a concert, so that's kind of important.
It's going to be fun because we're going to be going with. Oh, by the way, I have an extra ticket because Ryan has to go to Special Olympics.
That is a Thursday. Really?
Yeah. So if you know of anybody.
I bet I can find somebody.
I bet you can. By the way, folks, if you're listening and you want that ticket, it's too late. By the time this airs, we're going.
Yeah.
It's too late.
It's happening, baby. It's happening.
It's already done.
We're going to talk about that, too.
Yeah, we probably will.
We're going to have to.
We probably need to talk about Pink Floyd anyway because The Wall was such a huge album.
Yeah, they had a lot of albums that were huge.
Yeah, but I'm talking about when it came on my radar, The Wall was the first one that I had heard.
Absolutely. Now, I'd heard music by them before then, but hadn't really paid attention to them.
Right.
But The Wall was huge.
Yeah.
When it came out, it was huge.
Yeah.
It really was.
So, getting back to my kind of journey into metal music, I read all of the magazines. Okay, you had Cream, you had Hit Parader.
That's the problem. Hell, I didn't read anything. Anyway, go ahead.
And so I knew about all of these bands, that were coming up and stuff. So I had heard of bands like Saxon and stuff that people around here probably didn't.
Right.
But I got really into what was known as the new wave of British heavy metal, which was all of the stuff between like the late 70s, like say late 78 through like 83.
Is this kind of what punk turned into?
No. As a matter of fact, they hated each other.
I know they hated each other, but
the only band that crossed where it was okay if you were a punker, a punk rocker, or if you were a metalhead to like.
Can I say? I think I know who it is.
Who is it?
Sex Pistols.
No, Motorhead.
Okay.
Yep. No, Sex Pistols were not liked by the metalheads.
Oh.
No, because that was pure. But Motorhead was enough of both. And, Motorhead's one of those things that as I got older, I really liked them a lot more than I did back then.
I've never really listened to them.
I really like them a lot. I actually got to see them back about 14 years ago or so. Yeah, they were opening for the Foo Fighters. And they were fantastic. Really liked it. But yeah, bands like Motorhead that were coming over then. But the bands I was really into was probably Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath. You had the early Def Leppard albums, I thought were a little more. The first two were a lot more.
High and Dry?
High and Dry.
That's pretty much hard rock.
I
would call it hard rock. Not
yeah,
as much
probably.
metal.
Probably. I think you're probably right on that one.
Probably my favorite.
Yeah, they really is good. You had Iron Maiden. I already mentioned Maiden, but then you had bands like Saxon, the Tigers of Pantang, which people around here never heard of, but I got into because I was reading these magazines and stuff. And so, Ozzy, put out albums in the early 80s I really got into. So that was kind of my entry point into heavy metal. And then, bands like Metallica came along, So I really got into that. Scorpions. Love the Scorpions. I thought... Really?
Okay. They're okay.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, they have a couple of songs that I really like.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't ever
I was huge into the
Scorpions
Scorpions.
fan.
Yeah, loved them.
You know what?
That's okay.
We've always liked different things.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's okay.
I mean,
so, tell me some of
I
the...
like girls, you like guys. I get it.
That's entirely not true.
Yeah.
Can't take him anywhere. Anyway, so tell me about some of the... Like what's some of the things that you would roll the windows down and crank up?
Metallica.
Yeah.
For sure.
That Black Album that they released in like 89
That whole album is so good.
is really good. To me, it's their best. Now, some of their early stuff, Ride the Lightning and stuff, is really good too.
It is. And
I think their best overall album,
definitely that one.
I think they peaked with the Black Album. I'm going to be honest with you. And I know a lot of people may disagree, but that's okay.
I don't disagree with
Yeah.
you. I mean, they had some stuff after that I liked, but that's a band that I never got to see that I would like to see.
Yeah.
I would pay money to see them.
I've seen them twice, and I was happy. I was not unhappy either time.
You wasn't mad at it.
I wasn't mad. I didn't leave disappointed. No,
That's important.
that's
Especially when you
I,
drop the kind of change you have to drop
I
to
have
see
left some
Metallica.
concerts disappointed.
I
That
have
was
too.
not one of them.
You know who was disappointing to me that I really loved, and it wasn't a metal band, but just you saw just disappointment in bands.
Yeah.
I went and saw Damn Yankees and Bad Company. And
Yeah.
Damn Yankees opened for Bad Company, and Bad Company was such a disappointment.
What year did you see them?
Man, I don't know. It's probably 87, 88.
Okay, so I'm telling you at that time, Paul Rogers was the original singer of Bad Company,
Yeah.
and he was not in the band at that time.
Well,
And he's the one that sang all of their classic hits. So, yeah, I'm sorry you saw him during that era because they were...
but, it's kind of hard to follow Damn Yankees, too.
It is kind of hard when you have that kind of
I don't know
talent
who the
in there.
producer was, but that wasn't a smart move.
No, it wasn't. I will tell you that to this day, anytime Night Ranger plays around here, I go see him.
I've seen Night Ranger.
Because Jack Blades was in Damn Yankees as well, and they always do a couple of Damn Yankees songs during their set, and so it's always nice to go see them. I've probably seen Night Ranger second most times
number
that
one?
I've seen Band Styx because of Ryan.
Yeah. You know who's number one for me?
Who's that?
38 Special.
I'd say they're probably in the top three because back
Blackberry
in the 80s.
Smoke is a close second.
Yeah.
I've
You've seen them how many times?
Probably 9, 10 times.
Probably. No, wait. Belay that. I'm going to tell you the band I've probably seen the second most amount of time, but not a lot. It's not anything that would be a part of the topic of conversation today. It's Bowling for Soup. I have seen them many
was a
times.
wild night.
That was a wild night, but since then I have seen them many. As a matter of fact, Debbie and I are going in 2 weeks to Dallas to their 30th anniversary.
It's been 30 years?
Yeah. It's been 30 years that they've been a band. It's been 20 years since we've saw them.
That's kind of what good
So,
Lord.
Because
Wow.
and so
Y'all-
actually one of the most fun bands you will ever see.
As I get older, I used to could tell you what year what happened and all that.
Yeah.
I can't anymore.
Yeah, it gets harder and harder. That's actually something I'm still pretty good at. I can tell you what year that we did, what year something happened.
And
you
I
know who
believe you.
helps me with that? Ryan Renfro. My son Ryan, who I've talked about before, Ryan has autism, and one of his passions, and if you've ever known a person on the spectrum who has a passion, they'll know everything about it, is classic rock and bands in general. Yeah. So he can tell you exactly what year. That I say, hey Ryan, what year did this album get put up? 1978. Thanks, Ryan. And he'll be spot on.
Now, since we're bragging on our kids, this is a funny story, and it's a side note. This has nothing to do with music whatsoever. But my son, though I've talked about, has just a fantastic memory for things.
Yeah,
especially statistical things.
Right.
I don't know why. I don't know where he got it, but he just could pop them off. And they're like 10 years old. I'm playing travel baseball, and we're over at the high school, local high school, playing or practicing for a tournament we were going to play. And this other dad that was helping out with the team also was like, hey, this Greenwood team we're playing this weekend, you know anything about them? I said, they beat us last year in the state tournament. And I said, he goes, what was the score? And I said, I don't know. Hey, Cannon, Greenwood state tournament last year, what was the score? He never stopped moving. 10-2 and just kept going.
10-2, kept going, yeah.
And and that dude looked at me and he's like, really? And I went, dude, if he told you that, and the head coach was standing there, John Maddox, he said, if that kid tells you that, that's what the score was.
That's what the score was.
And he called me the next day and he goes, hey, man, I looked that up. He was right. And I said, dude, I knew he was right when he said it.
Don't fact check my kid. He's right. Yeah. But
he knew. I mean, they were running up and down a dirt pile. They're 10 years old. You know, and we were kind of in between things.
He was running. He was actually running and doing.
Doing the other thing. He never stopped. He never even looked our way.
10-2,
10-2, and just kept going.
That's awesome.
I mean, and it was that quick, and I'm just like, how do you do that? Amazing. Both of them.
All right, Chris. Now we're going to get on to the part of the show that we actually sold them on the first. If you were staying here for the Mount Rushmore medal, now's your time.
Yeah,
it's our time to shine, Chris.
Here.
All right. What's your number 5, Chris?
My number 5 is AC/DC.
You know what? To me, they're more in the hard rock thing.
They are.
You know what? That's okay. They
told
actually
you
have some songs that I will
way.
tell you that I think are just complete metal classics. And the fact, here's my favorite thing about AC/DC. They absolutely know who they are. And someone was talking to Angus Young one time in an interview and said, so the critics say that you've made 11 albums that all sound exactly the same. He said, that's not true. We've made 12 albums that sound exactly the same. They know who they are. They know their audience. Right. And anytime you get AC/DC, you know exactly what you're getting.
That's exactly right.
And I will tell you right now, my favorite AC/DC album is Back in Black, and it will always be.
I think it's everybody's favorite.
There's some Bon Scott fans that would probably think that maybe the album before Highway to Hell would have been, but to me, to be able to come back from losing a popular frontman like that and to come back with possibly the best album that they've ever done, and also right up there with an album I've always had a copy of ever since then.
You know what makes a really, really good album is the whole album's good.
Yes, the entire album.
The entire album. Every song on it is awesome. You've got a lot of people that make a lot of music, and they put out some really good songs. But you delve deep into the album, and it's not as good. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But that album,
solid,
unbelievable,
solid. And I got to see him one time. And, man, it was a great show.
I don't know that I've ever seen AC/DC. I think, yes, I did.
Yeah. Well, it's a great show. Got to get the right brain cell fire in there.
Right. Yeah, I saw him.
So, my number 5 is Metallica. Okay?
Okay.
That's my number 5.
Okay.
And there's a reason.
There has to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
That I'll get into later. They came in a little bit later. It took me a little while to latch on to Metallica because up until then, a lot of the heavy metal music, the pure heavy metal that I was listening to was English-based.
Yep.
And Metallica came in with a little bit even harder sound, and it took me a minute to get onto it. But once I did, I loved it. I got Ride the Lightning, and... great album. Then, of course, the Black Album. We talked about that earlier.
Right.
Great album. I've seen them a couple of times in concerts. They are the real deal Metallica. I think the influence that they had on the metal bands after, they're an iconic band.
There's no opposition to that. They definitely changed stuff. I've got a brother-in-law that absolutely loves metal, and he loves Metallica, and he was listening to Metallica way before I was.
Way before, yeah.
And he's younger than me. He's younger than us.
Yeah.
But I got to hear a lot of Metallica early before the Black Album, and it was okay to me. It didn't just. Yeah. There's a few songs that were cool, but again, the Black Album is still tops for me.
Yeah. What is your number 4?
Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden?
Yep.
That's a solid choice
And
right
I got
there.
a cousin that just come straight up out of his chair and is probably flipping the TV off. So
Yeah. Steven, I'm sorry. I know it's Steven because we all went to because you and I, we've talked about this trip before, but we actually went to see Iron Maiden probably, gosh, I bet it's been 5 or 6 years ago now. But it was a great show.
That was a great show. But, basically for me, Iron Maiden has one album that I really, really love, the whole album, and that's Peace of Mind.
It's a good one. It's got the Trooper on there.
The Trooper is my favorite Iron Maiden song. I can listen to that, and that's one that when it comes on or it comes on my playlist, I crank it.
Yeah,
it's got to be cranked.
it.
It's gotta be
that one has Flight of Icarus on there. It's got that's a good solid album. And I remember seeing them on that tour when they were touring for that album in '83. So yeah, Iron Maiden, solid number 4. My number 4 is Black Sabbath.
All right.
Now, Black Sabbath, the originators of, some would say, the first real heavy metal band that was out there. I'd say that there's some argument for that. I think there were some people who laid some groundwork before they got there. I think there were a lot of bands, including the Who and the Kinks, that probably influenced them a lot.
I definitely say the Who.
The Who, who had several what you would consider hard rock classics.
Yep.
Back then. I'm a big Who fan. I know you are too, and they're just one of those bands. But the interesting story about Black Sabbath, how they got their sound, was Tony Iommi worked in a steel mill, and he got the ends of his fingers chopped off that he would normally play chords with.
Perfect.
So he created these little fake things to go, these like little wax things to go on the end of his fingers that he would attach there. And he got very light strings, and then he tuned down. And that's how he came up with his sound. It was because he got his fingers mashed off, the tips of his fingers mashed off. Which kudos for him, because he kept it going and found a way.
Dude, you don't really think about that when it's happening to somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
But when something like that happens to you, ouch.
Yeah. Ow. So, but yeah, Tony Iommi, and here's the thing. I think, and we're going to be talking about the different Sabbath singers going forward a little bit, but I'm going to be honest with you. When they came out with Heaven and Hell with Rodney James Dio, oh, dude, that album smokes. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of Black Sabbath purists get mad at me. It's my favorite Black Sabbath album is Heaven and Hell. I think it's just, I think the 2 albums they did with that, which was Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules, are just iconic metal albums. And I know you like the Mob Rules. Rules. It's a great song.
It is.
So what is your number 3?
Motley Crue.
You know what? Those first 2 Crue albums were really, really good.
And then they did what most bands do. They sold out. They did.
They did the one, Theater of Pain is the one that had Home Sweet Home. They kind of, they changed their look. They kind of went a little popular. They were smoking in the boys' room and stuff. But you know what? They came back with Girls, Girls, Girls.
They did. And that's probably my favorite.
Which is a hard album.
It is.
They came back harder than ever on that one.
Wild Side is probably my favorite song by Crue. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wild Side's probably my favorite song by Crue.
Wild Side's a great song.
It is, man.
It is a hard rock
video with Tommy Lee, he innovated a lot of stuff for entertainment purposes.
Right.
But that cage that he was in,
that
came out and then started rotating and doing all that.
Well, did you see him
cool,
10 years ago when they did their
Carnival
first farewell tour, where he had like the roller coaster one that went all over?
No, me and Mark Clegg went and saw them on the Carnival of Sins tour.
Yeah.
And
I've got that DVD.
He got really great seats.
Yeah.
And like Nikki Sixx was like 5 feet from us.
Right.
Playing the whole thing. But he had like ropes I guess, with a jump like bungee jumping, and he had like 4 or 5 different kits up in the air, steel drums and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
And I was dreaming the other night, I'm playing, then he'd fly over to this one. He'd
Yeah.
play on that. It was really cool.
Oh,
man.
that is cool. Yeah. So my number 3, and I mentioned Sabbath earlier, was Ozzy. When Ozzy,
How bad do you have to be to get kicked out of Black Sabbath? I'm
just saying, that takes a lot of cocaine.
That takes a lot.
That takes a lot of cocaine. Me, I really delve into the history of that era of heavy metal, and I really think, it's just chasing a rabbit moment here, that the 2 people that had the most influence on the sound of heavy metal in the early 80s was a guy named Martin Birch, who was a producer, which you've probably never heard of.
Actually, that rings a bell.
Martin
Who else
Birch,
did he produce?
He produced that Heaven and Hell album. He also produced the Number of the Beast album for Iron Maiden. Martin Birch was a big-time producer of hard. So he kind of developed that really hard sound. The other one's Sharon Osbourne, who kept Ozzy from dying. I'm just going to be honest with you.
I'm not picking up any more dog poop. I'm a rock star, for Christ's sake.
But, kudos to Sharon for keeping him from dying and for, starting his career and getting that going and helping him put a band together, with people like, Randy Rhoads, Tommy Aldridge.
Did you ever get to see that Randy Rhoads tribute to Randy Rhoads? No, the tribute to Randy Rhoads. It was a documentary.
Yes. Yeah, I did.
That was really cool.
It's
when that
really
dude
good.
was telling Ozzy that he needed this guitar player, and he's like, "Well, I've got a list." He's like, "No, he is the list.
He's the list.
He's the list."
Up until that point, it had all been Eddie Van Halen,
Right.
And then Randy Rhoads comes in and goes, "Oh, this guy is also a virtuoso."
And there were people in L.A. that knew that because Quiet Riot was head to head with Van Halen, and it was kind of like the battle of the bands constantly every weekend on who was the better guitar player. And then Van Halen gets signed, Quiet Riot doesn't, and that's when Randy was a founding member of Quiet Riot.
Yeah, he was a young kid too.
Yep.
See, here's the thing that's sad about that is, because he died in his early 20s. What would he have been like now? And the bulk of his career. Rudy Sarzo, who was Ozzy's bass player touring with him when I actually saw him with Randy Rhoads. Rudy Sarzo also went on to play with bands like Whitesnake. So I've seen Rudy in a lot of different bands playing bass, but he also toured a lot with Whitesnake in the 80s. He wrote a book about his time in Ozzy's band with Randy and said actually, that was his last tour with Ozzy, Randy's, because he was going to leave because he wanted to do more, and you heard some things like that.
What did he do, like 3 albums with him?
Yeah, he did like 3 albums. Well, he did 2 albums, and then they had that live album that they released posthumously. But he only had 2 studio albums with him.
Right.
So yeah,
Diary of a Madman.
well,
and Blizzard of Oz.
it was Blizzard of Oz first, and then Diary of a Madman. Yeah.
I was just naming 2 albums,
Yeah.
which not in sequential order. I told you earlier I can't remember when things.
But yeah, that just to think about the sadness of what could have been with him, because he was I saw him 2 weeks before in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, of all places. Before
That's where I saw Kiss.
Yeah, before the plane crash that killed him. So I'm very thankful that I got to see him.
So senseless.
Yeah,
That was so senseless.
and that was
It's
that
kinda
pilot
like-
just showing off, and buzzing the tour bus and
Yep.
causing the crash and everything. So, okay, so I think we're down to our number 2 at this point, Chris.
My,
and so
my
who you
number
got?
2 is Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Yeah,
Absolutely.
What's your favorite era of Black Sabbath? Do you like the Ozzy or do you prefer the Dio?
Probably the Ozzy.
The Ozzy. Yeah. There's no wrong answer on that.
There's really not. I mean,
they were a foundational band, and I mean they laid the groundwork for a lot of, along with Deep Purple and other bands of that era.
Right. I just remember my brother playing that War Pigs
and scaring you.
Track. Oh my God. Bad news.
Yeah. So my number 2 band is Iron Maiden. And we've already talked about Iron Maiden a lot, but
There you
I'm
go,
telling you
Steven.
right there. Well, and here's why Iron Maiden shoots ahead. And it was really just it was their entire scope of work. Ozzy had some personal problems. Ozzy, at times, yeah. And, I think just, that was hard to do because Ozzy almost made it to number 2 on this one. But I think just as an entire career, Iron Maiden has been consistent.
Yeah.
Everything they ever put out is good.
Me, guys.
Every time I've seen them do a show, it's been fantastic. I think Bruce Dickinson is one of the best metal singers ever. And so, it was just for their entire catalog. I just think that
when we went to Tulsa and saw them, and there were people from all over the world
yeah,
at that show. To see them. I mean, people flying in from Norway, Sweden,
yeah,
France.
It was weird.
It was weird.
It was weird because
it's like, wow.
there are people that literally followed them everywhere.
Yep.
And they will make
Crazy.
every show. And they say in Latin America, I actually watched a documentary on one of their tours. And in Latin America, they're nuts for Iron Maiden. They go insane over Iron Maiden. And they will, you talk about fans that really get into the show. Watch those Latin American audiences.
Brazil?
Yeah, Brazil. So, Chris, tell me your number 1 metal band.
For metal, it's definitely Metallica.
Metallica, yeah.
Absolutely.
They
have a style that when a Metallica song comes on, that's Metallica.
It's Metallica.
Yeah.
There's a sound there. Yep.
Yep. And I used to drive into Deer Camp when you pulled off the paved surface. It was like 3 or 4 miles through the swamp, and you were hoping you didn't get stuck and had to heel toe it in. But man, as soon as I turned off, I'd turn on the Black Album and just crank it. Either that or AC/DC, Back in Black, and just balls to
jam out while you're going down.
Yeah, slinging mud and doing whatever you had to do.
Listen, that's real fun.
That's the South.
If you've never been cruising down a dirt road, cranking up the music, I'm very sorry.
I got some friends that listen to this channel that knows all about driving down back roads and finding a high spot and just partying in the middle of the dirt road.
Yep. My number 1 is Judas Priest.
I like Judas Priest, and they're not on my list, and I didn't even think about them.
Reason they're number 1 is, I think, as far as influence of heavy metal, and I'm talking about if you look at it from the time on, Sabbath had a very dirge type sound. It was very dark, and it was very plotting kind of stuff, especially on their earlier albums.
Right.
Then you had like Deep Purple, who kind of, they were hard rock / metal, but they were very influential on a lot of metal groups and stuff like that. But to me, Judas Priest was the first metal band that kind of got the sound of what heavy metal was going to be with the guitars, and they had the twin leads.
Yep.
And you had KK Downing and you had Glenn Tipton, who were the guitar players who just, I'm the nerd that knows all this
I don't
stuff.
know these people.
Yeah, what? But
they got some cool tunes, though.
They got some cool tunes, but that twin guitar sound that went on to like bands like Iron Maiden took that twin guitar sound, and and so I just think that they were so foundational in that they took that more industrial type sound and really defined what heavy metal was going to be. Which now, Chris, leads me into my interesting story.
Oh.
Okay.
Settle back, children.
Gather around, children.
Uncle Butch is going to tell a story.
Uncle Butch got a story to tell. Chris, this is the story of how I ticked off the lead singer for Judas Priest. No, not that one. The one that was in the interim, the fill-in lead singer for Judas Priest. But for that, I actually have to tell a little history of Judas Priest so you understand the context of the story. So, Judas Priest in the 90s, Rob Halford had been their lead singer for the whole time. Rob Halford is one of the most iconic voices in heavy metal. He has a very distinctive sound. He left the band. He left Judas Priest. Well, now they have to find a new lead singer. So the story is they got a copy of a guy that was singing in a tribute band, and they thought he just had Rob's vocals playing, and he was lip syncing. But it's a guy named Tim Owens, and his stage name Ripper. So Ripper Owens, the Ripper. But yeah, it is, and so Tim Owens gets hired for the role in Judas Priest to be the lead singer. Now, this got so much attention, they actually based the movie Rockstar. Remember with Marky Mark?
Yeah, I never saw it, but yeah, I remember
on
the movie.
This situation where it's the same thing. The front man leaves, they're bringing in a new guy. And it was based kind of on the whole story with Ripper Owens coming in. So Ripper Owens comes in, and he does a good job. He's singing. They actually put out a few albums with him as the lead singer. But in about 10 years, Rob Halford decides he's coming back. Okay? So Ripper's out of a job. Now, the other player in this game is K.K. Downing. Now, K.K. Downing is one of the guitar players in Judas Priest. He was one of the founding members of Judas Priest. He's one of the ones responsible for that twin guitar sound that they have. Well, KK, about, I'd say close to 8 to 10 years ago, leaves Judas Priest. Okay. He's not getting along with, especially with Glenn Tipton, who's the other guitar player. They have never really, amazingly enough, gotten along that great through all the years. And so he leaves. Now, Rob Halford's back in the band. They got a guy named Richie Faulkner that's playing with Judas Priest. They go on. Great. This is their last part of this whole story. And he gets Tim Ripper Owens, who is the interim singer for Judas Priest, to come sing for this. Now, my problem with the whole thing is he decided he's just going to play totally on the Judas Priest thing and call it KK's Priest. And I was like, that's kind of lame, but I'll give it a chance. Well, they put out some music. I listened to it. It's average. In my opinion, it's average music. It's okay. Kind of sounds like Judas Priest, but, they're doing their thing. Well, you know me, Chris. You've known me for a long time, and sometimes I say things just off the cuff.
No, we both do, actually.
Because I am a smart ass.
I have to tell people all the time, don't take anything I say seriously.
So on Facebook, KK's Priest makes a post about, they have a photo of their band up there and talking about, we're going on tour and da-da-da-da. Well, I make the comment under there, this is what happens when you order Judas Priest from Wish.com.
Ooh.
Now, I expected some fans to maybe comment on that. No, Ripper Owens actually himself comments on there, and he goes on a rant at this point. He's saying things like, well, if you want all the notes to be hit and you want to sing them like they're supposed to be sung and all of this kind of stuff, basically kind of, saying Rob can't do it, which he can because I saw him,
He seen him.
I seen him like 5 years ago. Rob Halford still sings every bit as good as he used to. And so, but Ripper goes on this rant, and I wish I had saved it, because if I did, I would have put it up on the screen here. But what happened was it was there for a little bit, and then it just went away. And I figured their social media guy went, yeah, there's a bug flying around here. Took it down.
I'm seeing stuff.
But folks, that's how I ticked off the one-time singer of Judas Priest.
That is hilarious.
And all because I can't help myself.
That's hilarious.
Man, fun episode. I love talking about music. And so,
Me too.
just
Stuff we grew up
so
with.
give me your
noticed
count.
our lists are pretty similar.
Pretty similar, but go ahead and count down your list again.
Really and truly, this list is not in numerical order. We put it in numerical order.
Yeah.
I don't really have a number 1, a number 5. Does that make sense? They can
Yes.
all interchange.
Depending on what day it is.
Depending on what day it is.
Right.
Number 5 was AC/DC. Number 4, Iron Maiden. Number 3, Motley Crue. Number 2, Black Sabbath. And number 1, the greatest metal band of all time, Metallica.
Okay, so my number 5 is Metallica, followed by Black Sabbath. My number 3 is Ozzy. My number 2 is Iron Maiden. And then my number 1 was Judas Priest.
Yeah.
Who I ticked off their fill-in singer.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah.
I'm sorry. That's just funny to me.
You know, it was kind of funny.
Well, usually it's me and you both are in trouble at the same time.
I know. But
that's how we roll.
That's how we roll on that, man. Hey, listen, guys, we certainly appreciate you listening.
Absolutely.
Tune in every week to the Retro Show. Like and subscribe on Facebook. Listen, you people, I love all of you, and I like 4 or 5 of you. So go out and make your day, people.
AMF, guys.